Hey, well, good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. This is my expose on Dr. Oz. So I'm going to show you some current clips. I'm going to show you some old video of him that he doesn't want me to show you. I guarantee it, okay? But as I get into this, I'm going to share some stuff from Hannity because, you know, Hannity, he's the best interviewer ever to really question the integrity of some of these lightweights in the Republican Party. I've really found him to be hard-nosed. Anyways, but as I get into that, I just want to mention really quickly my newest sponsor, Revere Coffee Company. Great coffee. Use promo code Lumberjack. You can save up to 10%. Links are in the description below, and I'll pin it in the top comments. But Patriot owned. They support Patriot causes. You can support them and support the show at the same time. Promo code Lumberjack. All right, so I'm going to just roll right into this Hannity interview. He's such a softball questions for this guy who's got such a questionable background on abortion, gun rights, and a whole host of issues. But I really want to focus in on this China thing because I'm going to show you some prior comments of his, and you be the judge as to whether or not you think he's for real or not.
The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Emmy award-winning TV host Dr. Oz is with us. Why would Dr. Oz give up, I don't know what your salary is, but you have a successful daytime syndicated show. I would probably guess millions and millions of dollars.
Because I love my country. I want to serve this nation. I witnessed what happened during COVID, which I thought was reprehensible. Politicians didn't know what to do, barked out draconian orders. Let's talk about China for a second. You know, we don't want Taiwan compromised. Taiwan is a major producer of vital products, including semiconductors, but it's also wrong.
And the Chinese numbers have dropped dramatically, which is fantastic news. And it's also valuable for us to understand why they were able to do that. If you look inside of Wuhan province, they had a catastrophe. But outside the province, which of course they quarantined in the largest movement of its nature ever, 60 million people blocked in that space. But the rest of the country was relatively spared. They didn't have the big spikes, the huge crises that Wuhan experienced, and it took the country to in a very different direction. We just have to copy what they did, take their blueprint and repeat it here in this country, and we started that aggressively over the last week.
So is it too late right now for the U.S. to adopt those policies? I mean, or has it been too late in maybe adopting the lockdowns, the curfews like we're seeing in New Jersey?
I don't think it's too late. I think we did it in the nick of time. It's probably a couple days of pain that we're going to go through where we really can't influence what happens this week. For example, New York City, where I'm sitting now, the governor said he expects there to be 1,000 cases here. So last week we had several dozen. But I think the week from now, we'll start to see the benefits of what many would call draconian actions, shutting down all public gatherings, limiting groups to initially 500, then 250. Now we're down to 50, which is probably the right size. And people have a newfound awareness of the seriousness of this.
And now, let's see if Dr. Oz can provide us with a clear and succinct answer on abortion, an issue with very grave outcomes.
Dr. Oz is running for office. In fact, he is a Senate candidate in Pennsylvania. And during a recent interview with Fox News, he was a little flustered when he was asked about his thoughts in regard to reproductive rights. Let's watch.
What is your position as both a doctor and a senatorial candidate on when life begins? When should we draw the line when abortion is legal?
As a doctor, I appreciate the sanctity of life. And for that reason, I'm strongly pro-life. With the three exceptions I've mentioned, that's how I would vote.
And when does that life begin?
Again, if I'm pro-life, then it's a decision that comes back to the sanctity of when you think life does begin. And I believe it begins when you're in the mother's womb.
When you're in the mother's womb, but that carries you all the way up to 9 months of pregnancy.
No, of course not. Life's already started when you're in your mother's womb. But it's a rat hole to get trapped in the different ways of talking about it.
Fumbling and bumbling. I learned nothing. If I knew nothing about Dr. Oz, I would have really no idea where he stands on the issue.
And here's Dr. Oz on defending parents' rights, and I'm going to insert a little screenshot from what he had to say about something else.
Where do you stand on education? And because I think if kids don't get a good education, basically you're ripping out the rungs of the ladder to success in life. Can we do better than what we're doing now? I don't think we could do much worse.
We can do lots better. And parents are worried about education because every parent wants their child to outperform them. Yet we've got schools which offer values to kids that don't align with what the parents want. And
what happened to him? He's gone over to the dark side.
So for the ladies at The View, I don't think that he's quite crossed over to the dark side. I don't even know if he's crossed over to the right side. And, you know, I'm going to share this next clip too by Sean Hannity. And I want to just bring up something here. And I've got this on Breitbart. So you'll have to watch the Sean Hannity clip, but I just want to read this and then watch that clip in context of this. Busted, Mehmet Oz's claim he did not write gun control columns disintegrate. Dr. Mehmet Oz, the liberal celebrity doctor running as a Republican for the U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania, is under fire for his prior support for gun control. In a series of columns, he now publicly claims he did not write for himself. So it'd be one thing if he said, well, you know what, I saw all the crime rate and everything that was going on, and now I believe in people's right to defend themselves, and I believe in the Second Amendment. But that's not what he does. He denies that he ever wrote them. But the problem is, they were co-authored by Oz with Cleveland Clinic's Dr. Michael Roizen, and then he has a history of years-long advocacy for gun control. The columns that Oz shared by a byline on pushed extreme left-wing views in restricting the Second Amendment. One in 2017 said it was scary that as many as 3 million Americans have loaded handguns they carry every day, while also promoting Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and Democrat talking points that having waiting periods for gun purchases save about 1,700 lives per year. So he has a record here. Now watch Sean Hannity's hard-hitting journalism on this, because he's really going to call him to the carpet. Check it out.
There are people all over the internet saying you're anti-Second Amendment. Is that true?
No, I'm strongly pro-Second Amendment. I've got my carry conceal. I own guns, and I think everyone should have a right to bear arms. It's in the Constitution.
Okay, so I don't want to leave you here with Oz has this and there's no other alternatives, and oh my gosh, Pennsylvania is just going to fall by the wayside to a liberal running as a Republican, like happens in Georgia all the time. No, that's not what I'm going to leave you with. I'm going to actually look at some of the polling data and see who the candidates are. And I talked to Karen Taylor from Out at the Vote PA, and I got her recommendation for a candidate. So right now, Oz is not even leading. Okay, so he gets a lot of media time and all of that. But McCormick is actually leading. Now, here's the thing about McCormick. David McCormick, he served as the CEO of Bridgewater Associates, one of the world's largest hedge funds from 2020 to 2022. Now, I have no problem with people making money. I have no problem with hedge funds, except for the fact that they are always in bed with Washington, D.C. So I do have that problem with them, okay? I've read all of Michael Lewis's books on these hedge fund managers. I really have no time for them. I like small independent business owners. But that being said, a member of the Republican Party, he was formerly United Secretary of the Treasury for International Affairs during the George W. Bush administration. Well, you know, George W. Bush, who bought us a Patriot Act, who knows, this guy was probably partly involved with spying on Americans and their bank accounts. So we're kind of out on that. But here's the thing. Kathy Barnette is running, and her website, I'll leave it in the description below, barnettforsenate.com. Looks pretty good, okay? She is the grassroots choice out there. And look, there's only a few weeks left. The primary is coming. People, if you're in Pennsylvania, please share this everywhere you can. We've got to get behind a candidate who's not going to turn on us. And I don't believe Oz is a good choice, even though Sean Hannity thinks so, and he got an endorsement from Donald Trump. We need to hold these people's feet to the fire. So thanks so much for listening to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you have not, and go check out my website, lumberjacklogicshow.com. Register your email. I still have yet to send an email in over half a year, but at least it allows me a way to communicate with you when the censorship gets even worse than it already has gotten. All right. I love you all. Peace out.